Morning. So Dr. Stracey should be here in just a minute. I'm going to go ahead and give her introduction so that we don't spend too much time. So she's originally from Brazil. She was trained initially as a clinical psychologist. She has a doctorate in clinical psychology and master's in public health. Her main research interests now are in cancer disparities and how to institute change on broad population-based levels to affect access to healthcare and use of healthcare, particularly the focus on cancer. So she's in the Division of Preventive Medicine in the Department of Medicine here at UAB. She's the Associate Director for Faculty Development and Education. She's also an Associate Director for Globalization and Community Health in the Cancer Center.
All right. Good morning. How are you? Okay, so for this kind of talk, it's always a little different. So I want to start. I don't know y'all. You do not know me. So when you see this title that was given to me, I didn't come up with this title. So what are your expectations for these 2 hours today? There, no, we're done.
Building rapport with the patient.
Huh?
Building a rapport with the patient.
What's your special population?
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to mention one thing. So we have a person online from elsewhere. So if there's questions from the audience, if you don't mind repeating them,
Sure.
I'll make sure that they can hear also.
Whoever is online can hear us?
I'm not sure that they can talk back.
Oh, they can talk back.
Because there's so much noise in the background.
Okay. So they'll be passive participants.
Yes.
But you do not have that choice. So if you show up, you need to participate. Is that it?
Learning more about the method of informed consent, special population.
Who works with human subjects here? This is a good crowd. There's a lot of coffee there. So, any other expectation? If not, I'll do what I feel like it.
What are some common dilemmas encountered with special populations?
You're cheating from his title. Anything else? Okay. So, hey, Jean.
I think it's better to use the arrow.
Okay.
Do this.
I'm a clinical psychologist, so I marry an IT guy, so I don't need to do it.
Good point. You can use that to drag the arrow around.
Too complicated. All right, culture. When I say culture, what comes to mind? This is not going to be a lecture. I warn you.
Attitudes, behaviors,
Attitudes,
beliefs,
behaviors, beliefs,
expectations,
expectations, bias,
values,
What else?
Since this culture always has a lot of history as part of it.
Customs.
Anything else about culture? Who can give me a definition of culture? Doesn't need to be a dictionary definition. When I say culture,
Kind of all those things that we mentioned and how they apply to a particular group of people.
A series of behaviors and beliefs that is common in one society.
in a group of people, in an individual.
In a group of people or like an area.
Okay. So a lot of times, what we make an analogy when we talk about culture is that it's our iceberg. Has that anybody else? So, and it's interesting, usually, so a lot of what you said here, where does it fit in the iceberg?
What you see.
Yeah. So what, all that you list there, is it here or is it here? Is it? Who disagrees that pretty much almost everything you said here is on the top?
That pretty much covers everything.
Okay. So usually, what we see is only 20%, right, of an iceberg. So usually culture, a lot of what we define as culture is what we see. So by definition, only thing that is on the tip of the iceberg there is this one. Maybe this one. So a lot of these are not on the tip of the iceberg. They are here. So because we do not see, right? Are y'all with me? Or no? Okay. So we do not see those characteristics. David introduced me as a Brazilian. Well, you may know my language, hopefully. You may guess my religion background, right? You may guess. You may guess some of my history. And I'm thinking nationality. You do not know my beliefs. You do not know my attitudes. You do not know my behaviors. Do you? So those are the things we can't see. But a lot of times we base ourselves on the tip of the iceberg when we make judgments, when we reach conclusions about others. So the first thing we're going to do, don't have a pen. I think Jean has a lot of pens for us. We're going to get to work. So I want you to, this is your iceberg, and you're going to write on top of the iceberg things that are visible about who you are, who you are, your culture. Not American, not Brazilian. And here I want you to write invisible things about your culture. That your, whatever you want to, attitudes, beliefs, expectations, or whatever.
I'm sorry, is the iceberg me or my culture?
This is your your culture iceberg. So I may define myself as a Brazilian, or I may define myself. My culture is not only, I want you to think about you and what defines you. So I will give another example is ethics for my identity, my own culture. So I want you to, what is part of you, your culture? Look beyond country. That's not what we're here. Is it clear? You're going to need to do it because we're going to work on it. So one thing that while you do that I forgot, I didn't have enough coffee this morning, is this, so we're going to talk about today is about us, and it's going to be participatory. If it's not participatory, you're not going to get much out of this. Now, the intention here is not to offend anybody, not to stereotype, but when we talk about what we're going to talk about, special populations, there's a great risk of stereotyping, and there's a great risk of offending people or people being offended. So if you do not have tough skin, you're in the wrong path. And if you do not feel comfortable sharing some of this stuff, I'm going to ask you, let me know. And that's okay. That's okay. You don't need to leave the room. You can stay. But that is what, so this is my disclaimer. Okay? It's going to be back. I'm not going to collect those. So that gets to Jean, what's her favorite color? All right. The pink, I'm going to ask the pink ones to share theirs with us. So not everybody needs to share. Whoever got pink. So I'm not picking on anybody. So pink. Who has pink to share and feel comfortable sharing?
So,
What's your name?
my name is Jacqueline.
Jack.
On the tip of the iceberg, I put my observations on there.
Can everybody hear talking?
Okay, so on the tip of the iceberg, I put my occupation, which I am a nurse. Which ended up in outside of my work at the hospital. My language, I speak both English and Vietnamese, and I am Vietnamese American. On the below, I put it that I'm Catholic. That's my religious belief. And you can see that if I go to church, I do. But for the most part, more internal. Values and value education, hard work, and part of my culture being Vietnamese, we respect our elders. That's always important. I believe.
Question for Jacqueline. Comment. Another one. I said another pink here.
Um, very same thing. So I'm from Iran originally, so I put my language in. So you would expect some customs. I didn't know about how where to put religion because it's like it has a variety of religions there, like a lot of Jews and Muslims. So I thought that maybe that's gonna be underneath of it. But I would say
It's about you.
okay, yeah. So I didn't know like if somebody just look at me, can they guess?
Oh, I
About-
see. Where it fits.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so and underneath would be the behaviors and the beliefs and attitudes and expectations of that that what I have.
So that's faith. That's not counting you up for, you can sound like Jacqueline. What are some beliefs or values that are your culture?
So we are strongly like believe in hospitality or like being friendly to whoever. So maybe that's I would just put it under the attitude.
Mm-hmm.
I would say when you're someone. Um,
What are the other things you value or believe that are important to you?
so like the behavior you have with other people is very important for you because that defines your personality. I don't know how to define that in one word.
Well, in psychology, we call collectivism. Any sociologists here? Psychologists? All right, thank you. Any other things? I can't see it from here, so. I know this first row here about this. Any
I
other?
have a thing.
All right.
I don't know. I just put down something. So on surface, I'm an Asian Indian. So I was born in India. So I speak English definitely because we learn it. But still trying to get the American accent. So
Well, I
my
have
friend.
been trying for 27 years.
So my friend knows I'm a Hindu, but generally most Hindus are vegetarian, but I'm a non-veg. I'm friendly, so my friend knows that. And I don't know, below the surface, my mother tongue is Bengali. So it is a state on the eastern side of India, where I was born. And on the religious ground, I believe all religions have different opinion to God. So that's my other
What's your name?
Diptiman. Diptiman.
Diptiman. Any other things? That's it? Gosh. Anybody else who would like to share anything? Okay. So, why do we do this? So what did we hear? And I want now you to start thinking about us as researchers, as clinicians, as interacting with patients. What happens next?
Sharon.
Sharon. So Jacqueline Sharon. So sharing with us. I mean, it so happened. This was a coincidence, okay, that a lot of it, they got their country apart and their definition of who they are. Some of you were born here that may not be as apparent to you. You know, and when I do this, a lot of people that are only Americans, they never put American there. You know, but does put myself in it as immigrants. So you can see that for all three of them, and again, those examples are, I'm not picking, I do not know, I know one person here. That's about, so I'm not going to pick a name, because I know him. So he's the only one I know. So you can see that what was in their forefront was where they came from. Was that in the forefront for U.S. born?
But American.
Somebody said no.
Well, I mean, I identify as a lot of Jacqueline since my father's from Mexico, but I was born here in the United States to an American mother. You know, my cultural identity was something that I actually always identify with because I can actually navigate. I can fairly well navigate both cultures. You know, while in Mexico, I can navigate Mexico. They never think I'm Mexican, just because my accent's so kind of eclectic. But you know, I know how to navigate that culture. I know how to navigate the customs, the values, the languages, and such.
So yes. So for him, it's very close. So that for some of you, that is not in the forefront. So that was, if you notice, that was the first thing they brought up. You know, I am Andrew, or you didn't think you're born here. You're born here.
I was born here. I was born here.
Yeah. But even then, she defined herself part of that culture. So that is much more on the tip of the iceberg. But they also share some things that to us was not apparent. You know, for her was the collectivism. And I'm going to pick one, just as an example. So perhaps when she is invited, and we're going to get to that, to participate in a research project, she may not think about herself, but she may think about the group that she belongs to. Or, at times, depending on her values, she may need to take that home out to her group before she participates. You know, I'm going to make an analogy here. I love to research for clinicians, I would make patients. Jacqueline point out to us other things. What is important to you?
So in our culture, it's very important to value your elders.
So if it is me who is consenting her to participate, maybe they're different. Yeah. Very hard to judge age. But if he was a 20-year-old undergrad student, the relationship is going to be different. It's going to be different because she may be more, because of respect that's important in her culture. She may not say no. She may be more intimidated because of the respect. And so those are, but are not obvious when the patient comes to the door or a research participant comes to the door. What's the first letter of your name?
D.
D. So I'll say D because I would have a hard time saying your name. So for him, you saw that he emphasized God in the world. I mean, that is what is important to you. We are in a university. We are supposed to separate church and state, right? So, but that is and that is going to be very important for him to what he's going to say yes or no to participation, what is valuable to him. So I just want to give, does that, you see where I'm going with this? That a lot of times, when you look at the research participant as that person there, that we judge on the visible, but not, there is a lot of other values that we were talking about. I like this. This is biologist. She says the portions we see of human beings is very small. Their forms and faces, voices and words. But beyond these, like an immense dark continent, lies all that has made them. How many times? And if you haven't done it, you haven't this, how many times, who here has offended somebody? Unintentionally. That you know of, that you have the insight to know. So I should rephrase the question. How many of you have the insight that you offended somebody unintentionally? Unintentionally, because we did not take the time to understand what is under the iceberg.
Sounds like a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, but it can be done. And I'll tell you, I'll give a 2-hour, we're going to talk for 2 hours, and then I'm going to summarize. What did I do with my water? It's going to be one word. So this is a lot of, this is what we see, and this is a lot of other things that we don't see. So I work a lot with my research here in the U.S. is with African Americans and Latinos. So when I started working with Latinos many years ago, I gave a lot of talks when we had the major influx of Latinos in Alabama. So I was asked a lot to give the talk on the Latino culture. That's a hard one because it's a very dangerous, and you need to be very careful. Because what's her name?
Oh.
Colin. Colin, let's say Colin goes to Brazil, and I say that I want him to give a talk on the American culture. Are you American?
Yeah.
Okay. Born in the United States. Wherever you start, right?
Western civilization.
In the others, if you're going to give a talk about American culture to Brazilians, where would you start? You start with Western civilization. It's a hard one because you run into the risk of stereotyping. So when I give the talk about Latinos and the values and the culture and gender roles, not every Latino has the same values, beliefs. And so that is, we run into that, the risk of stereotyping. So I'll tell you, especially now that I got into the funny story. So I am born and raised in, well, I have 3 passports, but that's a whole nother story. I'm Italian as well. So when I was in graduate school, I was going to my internship. I saw my paperwork and it said Hispanic. I'm not Hispanic. I'm white. So I went to my professor and I said, Bill, he makes a mistake here. I'm not Hispanic. I'm white. And he said, no, you're Hispanic. And I said, no, many years ago. He pulled the U.S. Census definition of Hispanic, and I'm Hispanic. And so it's regardless of race. So Brazil has the largest Japanese population outside Japan. My Japanese friends come to the U.S., they are Hispanic. So me, I'm half Italian, half Spanish, kind of. But I was shocked. I went to the secretary. I left his office and I said, Phyllis, did you know he's Spanish? She said, yeah. I saw, Jean and David knows me. Whatever's in my mind, I'll ask you on the hallway. And I saw one of my colleagues and said, yeah, did you know he's Spanish? She said, yeah. So I was dating my husband at the time. My husband's from Bangladesh. I went to school in Louisiana. And I said, Rich, I just found out he's Spanish. And he's like, excuse me? What are you talking about? I said, did you know he's Spanish? He's like, yeah. So it is, so to me, everybody knew I was Hispanic, but me. So that label was put on me, and I did not have that label. And since then, I'm like, oh. And then we start, I'm a little bit of an activist. So, and now with the undocumented, I speak Spanish as my second language. And so I said, well, I internalized that label. And for those who know me, I'm pretty vocal about immigrant rights and Latino immigrants. But that was incorporated in my culture. This part of my culture here, because of a label that was placed on me, that gave me I felt I had some responsibility with that underserved. So this is a little complicated. So those are things that we need to think about. Concept of personal space. As you know, in my culture, there is no personal space. So I'm American. When Brazilians come to visit, that first was very hard. But they would ask Rich how much he paid for the house, how much money he made, and to him was, we have a friend, a dear friend that comes from Brazil, and he stays there. And one day my husband said, okay, God, he said, Marcus, this is my space, this is your space. So for him it was a normal thing, but my husband got very nervous about it. So anything else about culture? Things that have you thought about? Immigrants think about that all the time, right? Because when you immigrate, you're in to assimilate, and a lot of times, even expressions that you can use, American expressions and define, we use it and it's funny because we don't know. Like the other day, I have been here for 27 years, and I told my husband, I said, she befriended so. And he said, oh, what did she do for her? He said, no, she became friends with her, and now she can get away with it. What is it's like, that's how befriended. Befriended has a whole other meaning. And so, okay, that's us. So I just want you to think about first who you are, what your values are, because we all have biases. Now, you put us in an organization, and then we have the organizational culture, right? So the values, behaviors that contribute to the unique social and psychological environment of an organization. Expectations, experiences, values, and that we all share that culture, right? Because we have a corporate culture. That's UAB. So for us to be part of this corporate culture, we bring all of our values, all of our beliefs, and on top of it, we need to behave within this culture and assimilate. right? What are the values of community? What are the things that that we need when we get into this organization we need to adapt and be conscious of? There's other values that is on the webpage. I'm not talking about those because I don't know what they are in either. What things about UAB as a work, like everybody here at work or study at UAB, right? Gosh, I cannot name 10 from the top of my head.
Patient-centered care.
Patient-centered care. I'm gonna write that down. What does that mean? How do I know you provide patient-centered care?
I'm not doing things to my benefit. I'm doing it for the benefit of the patient.
Way easier said than done. Okay? Other values. It's not hard things. It's very simple. Other recommendations.
Optional side hard work.
Huh?
They expect hard work on the high side. Duty hours or
So what is hard work?
get your job done. Stay until.
I may be your supervisor. Are you a hard worker? But I don't think you are. As your supervisor. What's your name? Sam is a hard worker. You see how that's very complicated. Because a lot of times what you define as values, the person, and some values are important to patients, some of the organizational culture, some are important for supervisors. Because supervisors go through what evaluating it. If that value is important to you, and you think you need to find a way to convey that to your supervisor without being around us. And that's hard. Because, so those are the things we need to keep. Another simple, other things.
Interdisciplinary collaboration.
And if I don't do that, I don't work alone. I do not like to collaborate with anybody. Do I survive in this culture?
Probably much more challenging.
I can. And I'm very sarcastic. I am bringing 100% of my, and I have 3 R1s. I don't right now. I have 3 R1s. I'm totally funded. I don't need to work. Do I need to have a job in Navy?
Yeah.
3 hours.
I'm not like that. You know, I yes, I need to work with everybody. I'm a psychologist in this book medicine, so I can't work alone. Yes. So the organizations value that. But when are you assistant professor or what's nurse? I am in the promotions committee for the Department of Medicine. When you come to the promotions for the Department of Medicine, it's a value that is less weight. Because we're going to look at your ability. And it has, so that is what things we need to do. Other things. What is the dress code at UAB?
White coat.
We don't have a dress code.
We do.
Like business casual or you're in scrubs.
So is it appropriate for me today to show up in my pajamas?
I thought you were wearing pajamas.
She was being culturally sensitive.
Is it appropriate? The dress code is I cannot wear mini skirts. Oh, you don't want to see me in mini skirts anyway. Spaghetti straps. Men cannot wear shorts. Nothing less. I am perfectly. I'm not hurt. I'm compliant. That's the thing. With the dress code. It's discreet. Not showing any body parts. But is it appropriate for today? So if you saw me walking down the street today, right here, while you came in, I was, yeah, it's maybe I had cold there. And I was there walking. Probably, what's your name? Allison would say, ma'am, can I help you? Probably went out to smoke a cigarette and doesn't find her way back to the room, the hospital.
You probably want to know where you got the pajamas.
So now, Sam, come here. How Sam and I dress different? Is it so he has no different than scrub, maybe no different than pajamas? Pretty close. Is he dressed appropriate? Why that?
That is a love coat. And yours more like an invitation stripe from.
Is his work clothes appropriate for this fall?
Maybe he has procedures later today. And he doesn't have time to change.
I didn't have time to change this morning.
We're going back to bed.
You see why? There are two things going on here, and I'm going to change the topic in a minute. I haven't done that. So there's a value. So scrubs, his monkeys, definitely important. I'm just a patient who cannot find my way back to my hospital room. Because by looking at him, I did this. He is a doctor. Oh, look how important he looks. He has a pizza. Look how important. You make me look more important in my pajamas with that. Is it an Auburn or Broncos?
Some
So there's a value that is okay. It's not more or less appropriate for him to come to this farm with those clothes and these next clothes. Because he's not in the ER or 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 whatever it is. So, but we accept it in this. So that is what I would you don't need to change your clothes. I'm not changing mine. My pajamas all day today. I like that. So that is value in what we place value. So because we're not going to even question, even if we had a reception tonight here, a social reception, and we show up like this, perfectly okay, and nobody was saying, what's wrong with him? Because it's accepted in this thing. Now, that's our culture. That's us. All that is acceptable. So now we have our values, organizational culture. We all know what the rules are, right? And our poor research participant shows up here. He doesn't know who we are. He doesn't know what our organizational culture is. And then I did this. I participated in this study a couple of weeks ago as a research participant. Everybody should do it. It was very insightful. Yeah. So she showed up in her lab coat. Now, why, when you do clinical, why do you have your research recruiter to show up to recruit a patient in a lab coat? Anybody does clinical research here at Kirkland or the hospital? Yeah. Do you have your recruiter show up in a lab coat?
Sometimes.
So why is that?
I hadn't thought about it, but I assume it's so they know you're being professional. You are what you say you are.
Why not just the UAB name then? There's no right answer. I'm just asking. Does it make a difference?
Depends on the patient.
Yeah, but you don't know ahead of time.
From patient's standpoint, when you're with a white coat, you may include it in the doctor or nurses, or no, the doctor's category, but if you're with the clothes with the name tag, you can be a secretary or an officer, I would say.
So what message do we give our research participants?
The recruiter's part of the medical team.
Huh?
That the recruiter may be part of the medical team.
In that there is a power. It's about power. About why physicians here? Any physicians? How do you introduce yourself to patients? I'm your patient. I'm just sitting there in the room and you walk in.
My patients are babies, so.
You got out of that one. You're a physician. What's your specialty? Well, I'm the mother. I'm here with my baby, sitting there. And you walk in.
Hi, Dr. Joyce.
I am Dr. Brooks.
If I want to introduce myself as a doctor, they don't know the doctor.
Maybe I'm a high school
So it's very appropriate. Very appropriate. Because when we are in a clinic, the nurse comes in, you don't know who the LPN is, you don't know who the nurse is, you do not know, especially if you're not familiar with the healthcare person. You know, and so it's important for when you walk in to say, I am Dr. I'm not going to even get into gender and race. That's a whole nother, there are many experiments on that. So, and that is, are y'all with me so far? See where I'm going with this? I want you to think about how the biases, by the time we get to the room with a research participant and or a patient, do you realize how much baggage we bring with us? Because if you are seizing that patient or research is seizing you out too.
And they have expectations as well, so they don't see you in a way, like, it's wrong. This isn't a real research project.
Correct. So it needs to be appropriate. I do community-based work. I go door to door. I work in I work Mississippi Belt, the Black Belt, and trailer parks. I don't think it's inappropriate to send my staff in that place. Okay? Go with the UAD. The police has been called a couple of times. Okay, I have a lot of stories to tell. So I think that's why David asked me to do this and do extra to it. I work in 3 languages. I work with a culture that I do not know anything about, African Americans, and I'm very different than that. And I work with undocumented immigrants. So talk about dilemmas. I can spend all day, from the police to guns and everything. So now let's think about, I'm going to make you more comfortable. You don't need to I just want you to position yourself there with, as an investigator or as training your staff. That's another thing, because if I forget, then I do right now, if I may forget, you are the PI. It's you need to be as comfortable recruiting a patient or participant as your staff. You want to get annoyed the hell out of me is, and I hear that a lot, we just hire an African American recruiter and we'll be okay. Or even my even favorite. People come to me and want to do community, it's not collecting, I don't know yet research, but blood on infants or to find the cause of autism, that's a whole different story. People that want to work in this activity or health eating or cancer screening in the Latino population, my first question is, quality. Make blame menopause. That I can. So, the first thing is I'll say, how do you speak Spanish? No, but I have a student who does. Can you work with this population if you cannot, if you're going to rely on that student, everything he's going to tell you that they're saying? It's very hard to do. So, who are the research participants? Anybody does community work here? Two? Then it does everything. A research, and this is a definition I got from Wikipedia. I want you to think about it. A research participant, also called human subject, or an experiment, trial, or study participant or subject, is a person who participates in human subject research by being the target of observation by researchers. Second, this man, I was like, now, this is Wikipedia, where our research participants go to. And now I'm going to go to OHRP. And everybody did their RRP training. Human subjects means living individual about whom an investigator, whether professional or student conducting research, obtains data through intervention or interaction with the individual or identifiable private information. What word comes to mind when you see the definition of a research participant? Based on everything we have been talking about.
Subject.
Subject. Of study. So I am here. How would you feel that I am here today? You're just my subject. Actually, I'm practicing this talk for an audience that's more important than you. So David asked me to practice with you. No, I'm kidding. It changes, right? So then you're not important. Why are you going to participate? I'm just practicing. You're just the subject of my interest, because I'm giving a talk at the National Academy of Science, and I need to practice my talk. Anything different about this talk today? Maybe yes, maybe not. So it is about whom, and somebody we are observing. That's the Google definition. I'm very scientific today. Susceptible to physical or emotional attack or harm. We are not vulnerable, helpless, defenseless, powerless, susceptible. When that participant shows up, or you recruit, if you do not really inform, he or she is very vulnerable. And we never think about it. But for us, it's like another research for, oh gosh, we are behind in our recruitment. And a lot of times we just give a consent form. What is the big deal? And we just want some blood. We do not think about that person. First of all, that person is doing a business. You know, he's going to do this study. I had my mammography this last couple of weeks ago, and they asked me to volunteer for the study at the 15. And then I did. It took me all morning. Okay, and and sign this paperwork, and so all that, and it was my time, and I was not getting paid. So, and a lot of times we think that payment of participants, we're paying for their time. $30 doesn't pay for my time. $50 does not pay for my time. So that is what we need to think about. Questions, comments? So think, and it's not, you need to train your staff very well. You need to role play. You would not believe what happens, that especially with special populations. So now, David gave me this title. I didn't ask him. I'm going to ask you. So, what is a special population? This is what I'm supposed to talk about today. What makes a special population?
Makes me think of more vulnerable populations, prisoners, pregnant women, children. But now that we just talked, I feel like every population is special.
What is the definition from OHRP of vulnerable populations? Just if there are army training, you shouldn't have. No need to mention all. Just prisoners, pregnant women, children. Are they the only ones? Is vulnerable and special the same thing? So, Sam, what is a special population to you in the context of your research?
Babies.
So every subject in your inquiry is a special population.
Not only babies, but they're like the sick babies, so it's even more challenging to consent because I'm asking a parent that's already dealing with, that challenge to now consent to a study about that.
We all agree that there's special populations, other special populations.
Autistic.
Yeah, the other categories the ones who cannot provide consent. They need that party. Other special populations.
Undocumented workers.
Hmm?
Undocumented workers.
Other topics. Why are they both special?
Sometimes they're afraid to listen to the law enforcement.
Yes. Other ones.
I would say people with genetic conditions. That's the population I'm thinking. A very common question I get from them is, are you going to share this information with an insurance company? Or are you going to database my information so that people later identify me?
Genetic disorders. So, who works with adults here? What's your research?
Periconception, metabolic health. work with infertility patients.
You? You said no. You said you were with adults?
I work with adult and children.
Okay, what's your research?
So I'm a genetic counselor, but I'm a neuroscientist as well, so I do I work with research.
Anybody with adults that are in the center of my life?
I work with ALS patients. ALS,
Yes.
multiple
Anybody else?
Renal cancer?
Huh?
Renal cancer?
Renal?
Renal.
Trauma. Okay. So I go to, she has a best example can come up. My talks are, I plan as I go. I don't, what's her name? Alice. Alice. So I am a faculty, right? And I had polio. And I go to participate, always wanting to participate in his research about okay, I'll get you. So I told you this. I'm a 53-year-old. I'm my age. Female, Hispanic. Now that I'm Hispanic, and I have. They're gonna learn all my medical history too. I have hypothyroidism. And I have polio and I have hypothyroidism. We want to study the relationship between hypothyroidism and whatever. Am I a vulnerable? And he just want to look at my medical records, like his age, for a year. No intervention. Am I a vulnerable or special population for your study?
Because you work at UAD and research.
Am I? So you think I am? And how come?
Well, would you be worried about your job? You said no. Participate about your job.
Okay.
Releasing your health information by employees.
Okay. And now Allison is doing a study about trauma in I am polio. I have hypothyroidism. I work at UAB. I'm still the 53-year-old female Hispanic. She is looking at trauma over time from domestic violence. And she invites me. No intervention. She just wants access to my medical records to see the impact, and I'm making this up. I work in circumcision. So I don't want to put your research. She want to look at over time the impact of being beat up. Am I vulnerable? And I work with you. There's no question there, right? Because the moment that, let's say she's at Kirkland, and everybody knows that she's doing, and I'm walking in her room and I see David. I did not know it. You know, HIV or anything that just by walking into her, she's gonna follow all the ethical routes. But the moment I am walking in her office and I see Colin, it's like, I did not know that. So she gets, unintentionally, she exposed. So special population, there's no definition for me because it depends on the context. You know, his population may be more vulnerable, not even because they're sick babies. He is the doctor of those children. And me as a parent, if I say no to him, you can tell me all day that's not going to affect the care of my child. I'm not even, I've never had an RV training. I'm a mother from Calera. Am I going to believe him? Probably not. And I need to say yes. Because he's the doctor of my child, and I love him. He's a great doctor. How can I say no to him? And Hispanic, I'm not heard of anyway. So, see, that's why I'm not the real Hispanic. So those are the things you need to think about. So it becomes a special population. So if I have ALS, my life is in his hands. And then he asks me to participate in a new drug trial. And I get to see it. He's not going to affect my care. It's likely to. So those are things that when we think about special populations, with its case, it's your research specific, it's the participant specific. What makes that person special? That means, I think it's special. Not in that sense. So that is, what that means is we need to go an extra step without being stereotypical. I don't have the answers. And that is hard. Trust me, it's a very hard thing to train staff. But I don't recruit. I'm not out there in the trailer parks. And I need to train my staff to be that careful. You know my secret? I ask people, you know what I look for when I interview people? People who care. My best manager, well, program director now, when I hire her, she managed buildings. She's the best program director I ever had. I can train her. But if you have somebody who doesn't care, you can't train. It's like psychology students, and I used to train PhD students. They could know the book of panic disorder, put them in the patient, and you're like, this person needs to do research because cannot behind the scenes. So that is special. I have some slides I'm gonna skip because I was gonna talk a little bit about cultural competence. And that is why now it comes out together, is the ability of healthcare systems, research, to provide care to patients, research participants, with diverse values, beliefs, behaviors, including tailoring the delivery to meet patients' social, cultural, and linguistic needs. That's cultural competence. Every time I give a talk on cultural competence, I have to very much. And one time, I was sitting in the back, I was not in my pajamas. Another talk about cultural competence. And they made us come, and then I stand up to give the talk. It's common sense. I'm not going to spend a lot of time because I want to get to your dilemmas. So this is a great model that we use in clinical care. It has 4 components. One is cultural desire. You need to want to work with certain populations. So when I saw clients, drug abuse, dependence was not my thing. I was not good at it. I have no patience for, and I need to know that because I need to refer them out. don't say the borderline either. I had a heart. I work in chronic pain. I work much better with cancer, chronic pain. I'm good at it. Than the more manipulative from my view. And I'm using the word manipulative on purpose. Because in my mind, I have a harder time. This is my own to deal with manipulative. And again, this manipulation is a defense mechanism. It's part of the disorder. So I need to know that. And I need to refer out. But I know I'm not going to be as good. Because I already have a judgment. I already go into the judgment. And it's fine. We all have biases. If any of you say you do not have any, I need to refer you to clinical psychology. We do. The key is we need to know what they are. We know the people that turn masochists, don't we? We just, and we're just gonna bring the worst out of us, so it's better to stay away from them. So that's the motivation. Awareness is what I talk about. We talk a lot about that. You need to know yourself. You need to know your values. And then knowledge. You need to know a little bit, of other cultures and bits and pieces that you acquire over time. Not that. I do not need to know. I do not know anything about Iran or Vietnam. I don't know. But that doesn't mean I cannot interact. It's how and I'll give you a few words, common sense. It's how can we relate and be humble. People love to talk about how things are that I have to pick on. It's an autism. I'm running out of examples. So, I am on her. Oh gosh, I love the way you dress. Thank you. And where do you get your clothes from? People love to talk about themselves, or you need to be genuine. If you come to me today and say, I love your outfit, I know you're lying. So that is knowledge. And then being sensitive, and that we learn over time. There's no secret there. So, my husband will kill me if I don't do this example. But, so I work with African Americans, and I have an American manager. My husband is white, so this is important. And our teacher is African, and she has been with me for 15 years. And we're in the car, and my husband works at a museum. One day he came home and told me, well, it's not a carpet, but just making bucks. If you say you don't do it, you're lying. So, and it was so funny. And we're in the car, I'm in the front seat, my dishes in the back, and I think, Rich, let's start imitation of so-and-so. Rich started this red, and said, no. And I work, we have disparities. Mind you that, I work, we have disparities. And so he was taking us somewhere. We got home that night, and he's like, never did that to me. So what did I do? I already forgot about it. And he said, what you did to me in the car? I said, yeah, what was that about? Everybody here know what it was about, right? I did. And he said, I am not, as a white man, I am not allowed to make fun of an African American person in front of another African American. But it doesn't have anything to do with race. To me, who grew up in a country that 45% are mixed race. So I mean, it's hard for me to, this has been 2 years that happened. And I was like, oh my God, my husband's not racist at all. And I said, that's why y'all here in the U.S. are where you are. The first thing that comes to mind is race, and we had this big, and he said, and you work in health disparity, and God knows how many people you have offended, and you don't even have no clue. And so the next morning I called our teacher, because I was, and I said, we have a race. She said, yeah, I know what you're going to ask me about. And sure enough, in both of their minds, race was in the forefront because of their upbringing. It was not a mind, but it did not have anything to do with race. But in their minds, they had out with both sides, neither racist, but was there so that root that they knew that I think that I offend people little, that's not me. So, okay. So this is the national standards. And I'm not going to have time to go through that. That in terms of provision of care, that we need to provide culturally and linguistic appropriate care. That also applies to research. Sorry, I thought you thought 2 hours was going to be a long time. So I just want to spend a little bit of time on language. So any organization for clinical care and research that gets any federal money, any Medicaid, Medicare, Title VI is that you need to provide language accommodation. That is, you need to provide the care and research in the language of the patient. That's federal law, and it's the law. So if you are going to enroll non-English speakers in your research, you need to have consent in their language, and you need to have the requirement is the consent in their language. I go an extra step, it's a bilingual, bicultural person consent, because just knowing the language, obviously based on my recent example, you know it's not enough. So that is very important. The OHRP can allow that they can have an abbreviated consent. UAB, you need to have the full consent, and they need to sign the consent in their language. Just explaining, we have a situation the other day, but I had a student who explained to her in Spanish. And I said, what document did she sign? What language? English. Would you sign a document in Portuguese? Do you speak Portuguese?
No.
Would you sign it?
Probably not.
I am telling you, you can trust me. Would you sign it? No. So those are the things we need to think about. So I need to run. So LLP as a patient, if you do not feel comfortable that he or she is understanding, you need to stop. It's better not to exclude non-English speakers in our research than do an unethical job. So, this here is a stop. It's supposed to be an hour ago. So, this is a duck or a rabbit. So a lot of times with research participants, I did all this to you. I know it's a long way to get there, but we don't get that here often, is that we think about the research participant, and we do not think about ourselves and our interaction and our staff with that patient. So we are seeing a research participant, but what is that research participant seeing? All the biases and values that we bring to that group. So and I'm gonna see. I'm going to go through this very fast. So in the South, now that I brought up race, a lot of people consider in the study racial ethnic minorities, special populations. True, false, 3 is 3. Volunteers group.
I don't do that.
Okay? Tell me more about it.
Oh, well, we're recruiting people, and we have this, since we're looking at specific autoimmune disease, whoever has it.
So for some, doesn't matter. For some, who studies your race, ethnicity, So, so I want to talk a little bit with a quick read, but do you try to include racial ethnic minorities in your research? Why is that? Do you make any special effort to include that racial ethnic minorities in your study?
Or
It's required. You have no choice. Why is that? I know a lot of people resent. So the federal requirement is that we need to, right? So then what do? We, in general, we do 2 or 3 meet the quota. That research does not benefit that group at all. About 200 patients, 5 are going to be, it's even better. You get 2 African American, 2 Hispanic, and American Indian. And that's your requirement.
you have to design prevalence studies, and then you determine your enrollment criteria based on that.
Right. So in your case, I'm judging. So, who does, in your research, does race ethnicity matter in terms of treatment or whatever you want to
Not treatment, but prevalence ratios.
So at the end of the day, your research benefits more whites.
I'd say more Asians.
More Asians, okay? So, so do you struggle to include racial ethnic minorities in your studies? Like that. Changing topics.
So for my studies, it's mostly done in patients undergoing IVF, and we don't have as many minorities undergoing IVF.
What other challenges do you have with recruiting, enrolling racial ethnic
I've noticed when I try to recruit minorities, that they're more likely to say no.
minorities? Have the same experience?
Like my study right now, I think everyone is refused as a minority.
Why is that?
Well, I think in the African American population, there's just most of research still has steps.
So, we did a study. This is clinical trial. This is therapeutic trial. So it's, the comparison I'm going to make is not a fair one, but it's what I have. So this is a study we did. We interview principal investigators, research staff, referring clinicians, cancer center leadership, barriers to participation in clinical trials among underrepresented racial ethnic minorities. Okay? Pretty consistent, what you're saying, right? Distrust, everybody. And unmet transportation needs, you didn't bring that up. Language discordance, low educational level, discomfort with uncertainty of trial participation. And then we have the cancer center directors who are really out of reality and says that it's inadequate staffing, lack of funding. But that's often, if you think about it, what are cancer center directors? And competing obligations. Okay? So that is their perception. Then we went, this is non-therapeutic, but I do non-therapeutic trials. So we want to know if African Americans and Latinos, healthy volunteers in Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, Florida, and Puerto Rico, their willingness to participate in cancer-related studies, okay? And what they would be willing to do. So we went to those, all African Americans our Latinos in other states. This is our recruitment. I don't have time to. We interviewed 570 participants, rural and urban, because we said, well, we want to see rural, urban, rural, and for Latinos and African Americans. Have you ever been asked to participate in a research study? I have never been asked.
I'll say compare the whites.
I didn't do whites. Nah. That, so the literature is higher for whites. So that is a whole other thing. I work in this way. I work mostly in, so that is, but I want to show you, have they ever, the ones who said, yes, I have been asked, then we say, did you agree? A little bit, 70, from 60 to 85%. And then what was it, your experience? And the ones who said yes and participate were positive. Then we talked about how much do you think research on health and illness, we had a scale in terms of trust. And the trust is here between Latinos and African Americans, very similar. It's between a great deal and some. So it's not the end of the spectrum as we think it is. And this is the barriers that we found. This is the barriers that show in the literature. And I can talk to you all day about this study, but this is our findings. Time commitment, fear of side effects. The ones in red is consistent with the literature. Fear of being a guinea pig, and fear of finding out they have a disease. And then not enough information about the research, too many risks, and so on. And those were the motivators. More information and awareness about research, direct personal benefits. There are health volunteers, so they need to see the benefit, their own personal benefit. Get free medical exams that is consistent, and then the study may provide information about their health that they would like to know, and then a lot of altruism. This is African Americans and Latinos. So what it shows here is that, it's like I took, when I was leaving this slide, I took the slides, I got a slide out that we asked what they'd be willing to do, from questionnaire to donate piece of, tissue. So a lot of times what I want to show here, just for you to think about, is what we think are barriers may not be barriers. So if we are not meeting goals in recruitment, we really need to step back, do role playing, observation. What are we? It's not sales. If you have a sales person who's not performing, not selling, what you're going to do? You're going to monitor what are we doing that we can do better. I have the highest recruitment of Latinos in non-therapeutic cancer-related trials in the whole Southeast, higher than Moffitt, that is in the middle of, and I am in Alabama. So when we had our cancer center visit,